Tonight's guest is an award-winning high-performance coach and trainer, and an Amazon best-selling author and a success strategist for go-getters who are ready to take everything to the next level. Guys, we have a really good show for you tonight. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rob's Inner Circle. A little technical glitch over there. Nothing serious. We'll bring you on every time in a couple of seconds now, a couple of minutes. So, guys, thanks for tuning in to Rob's Inner Circle. Tonight, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing some simulcast. This is going to be the way to go from now on. We're broadcasting both on Facebook and on YouTube. So this is something new. So the whole idea was to get more of an outreach to our audience. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And for those of you who want to tune into Facebook, it's on my personal page, Robert D'Alessio. And if you want to tune on the YouTube channel, it's on the Bobby's Short Shorts YouTube channel. Guys, we got a great show. Just hang in there. I just wanted to give a huge shout out to my good friend and producer of Rob's Inner Circle, Miss Jenny Duhame. Thank you very much, Jen, for being such a soldier, for being so awesome, for making the show as great as it is. Thank you very much. Also, a quick shout out, guys, this is like really weird. This is something that we never expected. As many of you know, we have our show, our sitcom called Daily Struggles, all right? And it's really picking up a lot of steam. And wouldn't you know it, out of Japan, of all places, we have a fan by the name of Ryu Cat, and I hope he's going to be tuning in. He says he's supposed to be tuning in. Ryu Cat is spreading the love. He's spreading our word all over Asia, and we have reached as far as the Philippines, imagine. So Ryu Cat, thank you so much for being such an awesome fan. You're the best. Thanks a lot. Ryu Cat has asked the Daily Struggles sitcom cast to appear on his live podcast, and this should be maybe November 11th, so that has to be confirmed. Also, the week of the first week of November 5th, we're going to be the Daily Struggles sitcom cast is going to be on the Ange TV show. That's November 5th. Followed 2 days later, we're going to be on the Dirty Four podcast, the headman by Claudio Silvio Capri. So that would be November 7th. Great stuff. So guys, let's go on to some other stuff over here. Tonight is going to be the closing segment of our October COVID party month. We've had a great month, and tonight's guest is also as great as all the other guests we've had. She's very interesting. I really can't wait to bring her on. Okay, and for the month of November, we're going to be opening up a new month, a new segment, a new series called Movember. And our producer, Jenny Duhame, has vowed to walk 60 kilometers, okay, as a tribute to each and every one of the men who have and will continue to, unfortunately, have died due to suicides. Because there's a man that dies every hour worldwide. Such a sad case. And Jenny's going to be doing that 60-kilometer walk for that. Okay, and also we invite you guys to submit your shorts, your short films to Rob's Inner Circle, to my email actually, but it's on the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel. We'll be posting up the email where you people can send your short films, and we'll be showing the films. Guys, I think that's that time once again. It's our favorite time. It's time to get it on, guys, right? Okay, so does everybody have his glass of wine? Are you all in your pajamas like you're supposed to? Because you know now, right? Since June, this is what the tradition is. So there's no excuses. You guys got to be in your pajamas. You got to have your glass of wine, right? Okay, we're going to relax. We're going to kick our feet on the edge of the table here like this. Take it easy, relax, and let us carry the load. Guys, what a wonderful guest we have. I'm going to bring her on right now. The wait is over, guys. Folks, all the way from the Gold Coast, somewhere near Brisbane, Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest tonight, Miss Kimberly Spencer.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks so much for being on our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure. I know my husband has been on, I believe my husband was a guest on the show as well. So super fun. He may be popping in here for a hot second to bring me some bubble
By
water.
all means, Spike Spencer is a beloved a guest that we had on our show. We're still hearing about him. Good stuff.
He's an international treasure.
And you know, Kim, after tonight's show, you're already an international treasure. You're going to be a universal treasure.
So there are aliens watching this broadcast as well.
Okay, for some reason now the technical difficulties continue. Okay, no problem. I was able to bring the screen back. So, Kim, without further ado, let's get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're from California. You and Spike are from California with little Decky. All of a sudden, you guys go to a convention in Australia, and the next thing you know, you made it your home. What happened?
Well, we saw that the lockdown was inevitable, and we figured that if we're going to get locked down, we might as well do it where there's the beach is our backyard. And so we just grabbed an Airbnb. We thought it'd be a fun little adventure to stay for a few months. And then we are now planning on staying for 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And you're from the Gold Coast, right? You're in that area?
Yeah, we're in the Gold Coast. So it's a little like southeast of Brisbane.
Wow. Lucky you. Because, you know, folks, in Australia, it's the opposite from here. Now we're heading for winter and they're heading for summer.
Yeah, it's apparently going to be very hot and humid. And so I had one podcast that I was on. She was like, wait, so you packed one suitcase and you've been living out of one suitcase for 7 months? I was like, it's okay. I went shopping. I promise you. I bought this sweater here because I was cold because it's more humid here. Spike likes to have the air conditioning on. That's not really my jam. So.
Okay. So what's it like? What's COVID like in your parts of the world? Is it the same like, let's say in Los Angeles or even in Montreal?
No, I mean, I'm not sure how it is in Montreal, but in Queensland, everything is pretty well handled. Like they like the news freaks out if there's like a case.
Okay.
Like, so it's not like thousands of cases or multiple cases a day. It's like there's been a case. So it's like there's no mask laws here. Everything is pretty much back to normal. Yes, you have to maintain social distancing. So at the gym, you want to be like one machine apart from somebody else.
Okay.
But other than that, it's pretty much back to business as usual.
Well, Kim, we have a fan from Australia. Her name is Jess Sorrell. She's from Australia.
Hi, Jess. I'm not from Australia, but I love your country.
Hey, tell me, Kim, have you learned a couple of expressions in Australian? Like one I learned, and I said this one to Spike when he came on. Would you like to crack open a tinny? That means would you like to crack open a tinny? Meaning, would you like to have a beer?
Oh. I don't drink beer, so I don't think anybody would ask me that. So I'm more of a wine girl myself. Actually, really, quite frankly, more of a champagne girl myself. But technicalities. But one of the words that I learned is cheeky, and totally describes Declan. It totally describes our toddler. He is quite cheeky, and he is just a gem, and such a. Like cheeky is like mischievous, but playful as well. So like mischievous, but not like mean, like not intentionally mean. And then another one was drink a cup of concrete. So it's kind of like rub some dirt in it. So if an Aussie's kind of poking fun at you, and you get a little butthurt or a little sensitive, they're like, drink a cup of concrete. So
oh my God. Okay. So they have all sorts of expressions that we're not very used to
Yeah,
hearing.
and they shorten everything here. Like it's Macca's, which is like McDonald's.
Oh my
It's
God.
except for like names. So you could be like Davo, Stevo,
Okay.
Jono. Like
Wow.
they just add the O to the extra part of the male names.
So, Kim, tell us, how do you manage to be a mom, a wife, a businesswoman, a coach? How do you manage to fit this into your daily routine and make the best of it?
Um, I get that question a lot, and you, quite frankly, you just do. Like you put your head down, you do the work, you show up, and you show up for your family, you show up for your business, you show up for your clients. For me, the Australian time zone difference has provided me with a blessing in ease of scheduling because all my U.S. clients and U.S. interviews are in the morning, and so then in the afternoon I get to play mom full time, and then in the evening is my UK clients.
Wow. Okay. So you got clients all over the world.
Yeah,
Wow. And you know what? And on Rob's Inner Circle, we have guests from all over the world. So,
awesome,
so we're
awesome. I
even.
love all of them.
Hey, let's raise a glass to Kim. Much success to you, all of
Thank
your
you.
endeavors.
Big old bottle of water because here it's 10 o'clock and not quite appropriate to be
Well, this
drinking
is
that.
this is water too.
Just grape juice. Yeah,
It's
water.
It's grape juice.
Just grape juice.
So, Kim, you're a you're personal a performance coach.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate what? Okay, let me take that over. You're a performance coach. What is the difference between a performance coach and a motivational coach?
So I'm a high performance coach. So I focus on somebody's personal performance as the leader in their life. So a motivation coach, I'm not the biggest fan of like rah motivation because motivation is great for giving you that boost. But unless you're actually getting an action plan and strategies, it's kind of like having all this energy and not knowing where to go with it. Like if you don't have a plan to execute after and systems to put into place and a strategy, it's kind of like, oh, it's like, oh, I've got all this motivation, but it doesn't have a place to go. Like there's no destination. So it's for high performance, we're looking at really leveling up the key areas of high performance, which is how clear are you in your decision making? How clear are you in where you want to go? How clear are you in your life in the next 5 years and what you want to accomplish? And how on track are you with how clear are you on the direction that's going to take you to get there? The other area we focus on is energy. So what is the energy that you are what is the energy that you are putting out in the world? Not just the energy, like the energy that you have personally, but the energy that you have within you, emotional energy, the actual physical energy. How are you energetically using your voice? How are you energetically gesturing? We also look at your courage, your productivity, and your influence skills as well. For those scientifically measured were the 5 key performance indicators for high performance. So if you can increase those areas, taking more courageous action, maybe, and courageous action, it doesn't have to be like some giant big like move to Australia. It can be, speaking up for yourself in your relationship, or it can actually be saying no to your kid who's constantly asking you for something and like you don't want to give that thing to him. And so you say no instead. And that can be an act of courage if you're used to people pleasing. So we look at all these areas and then elevate your performance. So there's actually a strategy to move you forward rather than it just being like, oh, I'm so excited, but I don't know what to do with that excitement. Motivation is kind of like spinning your wheels, but you're not gaining any traction. High performance really is about getting new traction toward a destination of who you want to become.
Okay, so Kimberly, you were telling me when we first had our initial interview that you can take a business owner and you can boost his productivity up to 150%.
I can help boost their income up to 150%, and I can at least 3x their productivity.
Okay, now with this pandemic going on and all that, you're doing all your stuff on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it doesn't have the same effect as when you had like a one-on-one, a person-to-person.
I've always had my high performance coaching be on Zoom. So, because I have an international business, so there's no way that I could there is a way I could fly a UK client to come and see me if they would like to do that. But for the most part, everyone preferred to just do it on Zoom anyways.
Well, it's a lot cheaper doing it that way than hopping onto a plane and like
Yeah.
getting there 2 days later, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been like the pandemic didn't really change much for my business, but it did change a lot of things for my business owners who I coach. So for my clients who were event planners, or my clients who had businesses like certification businesses or event-based businesses or workshop-based businesses, they had to pivot their strategy into an online model.
Okay. So you've been an actress,
I
and
have.
you've done some dancing, you've done some theater, and you were telling me all of this has helped you develop the person that you are today. But not only that, is you brought that into your business, and this has helped you flourish as a businesswoman.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, acting was a way the reason I got into acting back when I was a teenager was because I didn't see any other career back then, growing up in Los Angeles, that would provide me with the level of income that I wanted to make and the level of impact that I wanted to make. And I didn't know that really entrepreneurism was an option. So acting seems like the best way to go about creating a brand, and which would be, my name, and creating something that I could get to the level of income and impact that I wanted to make. But once I realized that it was about making a certain income and about having a certain impact, the evolution of that, it just naturally transformed and evolved into what Crown Yourself is today, which now we've been able to impact. Like, our brand has had impact on, I think, 600,000 lives so far. So
Wow.
my goal, I would love to hit 1 million by the end of this year. We've had 600,000 people interact across all our social platforms.
Nice.
So that's something that I'm like, that's impact right there. That's being able to do it and have an income that is able to support us living in Australia and traveling and living the vision that we've always wanted to have. Like, that's the dream right there. So acting was, so it served in that way. That was the reason why I got into it initially. I also loved performing. And so it makes sense that now I'm a high performance coach, because there would be something in a performance that is kind of pulled out of you. Like, it's performance, especially in acting, it allows you to process things that maybe perhaps your subconscious has not really had a chance to process or understand or deal with, especially if you've had trauma in your past. And so acting served me in that way. It trained me to listen really well, because I didn't know that I had been conditioned to not listen to what other people said. I had been conditioned growing up to really fight for being right instead of learning and listening to learn. And so acting, like the form of acting that I studied was Meisner acting. And so in Meisner acting, the basis of it and the very foundations that you're doing is you're just learning to listen to the other person. You're learning to listen to the sound of their breath, their tone of their voice, the way their body is. Like, so you're listening not just on a surface level to the words that they're saying, but you're listening to all the pieces of real life communication. And so it really trained me now when I coach my clients to put all my attention on the other person. Like, when I'm in a coaching session with a client, just like when you're in a session, in a scene with a performer as an actor, you put all your attention on the other person. So you're not getting stuck in your head. So you're fully present in the moment with the person. And that's actually where the magic happens, in a coaching session and in a scene.
Kimberly, I promise I'm not going to put you on the spot. but you are a trained singer.
I am.
Okay. You started at a young age, I would presume.
Not really. I sang, but I wasn't very good. And then it wasn't until I discovered speech level singing, the Seth Riggs technique, and my coach Rachel Lawrence, who ended up coaching the cast of Glee.
Oh, Glee.
But
Okay.
yeah, so but when I coached her, that was before coached with her, that was before Glee was on. But yeah, I had wanted to do musical theater, and I'd found song as such a liberating way of expressing myself. And some of the beauty of singing, and I just did a podcast episode on my podcast, The Princess and the Bee, with a musician. And we were talking about the benefits, the neurological and the neuroscience benefits to your brain that singing actually has. And as a culture, we used to sing all the time. And now we think of singing as a performance. But if you look back into like ancient times, singing, what people sang while they worked, like they sang to connect as a community. So I think we've put singing up on this pedestal as like it's a performance thing, when really singing is a connection thing. It's an expression thing.
Well,
And so,
no,
go ahead.
sorry. No, sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and so singing for me, like that's how I connect with my son at nighttime, is I sing to him some of the musical theater songs. And for me, as a teenager with lots of emotions, going through bulimia, dealing with childhood trauma, and my dad was an addict, and so like processing that, I didn't have the words or the actual like the frontal lobe comprehension to be able to comprehend some of my my big emotions. And singing provided me with that outlet to be able to explore through song an expression of how I was feeling without actually being able to logically understand, because your prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until you're 25 completely. And so I didn't have, like, you don't have that part of the brain that is full of like logic and reasoning and understanding. So that's why sometimes when you feel all these big emotions as a teenager and in your early 20s, you can't put a logical explanation onto it. You can't really explain it. And so sometimes it just has to be felt and it has to be expressed, but we don't know how to feel it, and we're not taught how to express it. And singing is a wonderful way to be able to express it. And same with performance in acting and theater is a wonderful way to express emotions and things in a safe environment that allows you to express these big emotions that maybe you don't know how to process or deal with yet cognitively.
Okay, you were saying something about singing and working at the same time, and the first thought that came to my mind, it's going to be kind of corny, but anyways, I'll take a chance. The Seven Dwarfs. Well, they were going to work. They were singing.
They were. That was like based off of, I think, a German folklore story, and like that's they whistled while they worked. And if you go back to like before the phonograph, like people would sing in factories, and they would sing, they would harmonize together. Like one of the most beautiful things that I heard during COVID was when Italy shut down and people were singing outside of their windows.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, and it just showed the community that even though we couldn't actually be together in a space, like it connected people on a powerful level. And it obviously touched so many lives because that video went so viral, and we were able to experience that and connect with their pain and their sorrow and their sadness from around the world.
Okay, I just wanted to fill in the audience that may have just tuned in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Rob's Inner Circle. We are broadcasting live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Our guest is the wonderful Kimberly Spencer. Such a fun guest to have on. She's amazing. And people, if you have a direct question to ask Kimberly, don't be shy. We're going to put it up on the screen over here, and Kimberly will be more than happy to answer the question. Right, Kimberly?
Happy to answer it, yes.
Oh, I knew it. Kimberly, for how long have you acted? When you were acting, how long did you act?
I started acting when I was I was putting on backyard theater productions since I was 5 years old. Like, I always loved stories of transformation. And so, and I still do, like, that's my job is is transforming people's stories about what's possible for their income level, what's possible for their business, what's possible for their relationships, what's possible for their life. And so I always love these stories of transformation from specifically princesses. Like I love the journey of like rising into that queen. And so I would stage these backyard productions. I never liked like the boring princesses who just had to be kissed and woken up. Those didn't do anything for me, but give me the bells, give me the little mermaids who had to go through a journey to be able to get to where and who they wanted to become. Like that was my jam. And so I would stage these productions, and they were my first actual like entrepreneurial endeavors, because I would bring in financial backers, my parents, to pay for like costumes and whatnot. And then just to help me source costumes, I would do all the costuming. I would sell products at the door for the parents who were coming. I knew I had a built-in audience because the neighborhood kids would be there. So of course, as a parent, you would go see your kid in a production. So I knew I had an audience that would buy tickets. And so stage plays and productions were like my first entrepreneurial endeavor. And then of course I was the lead princess because it was my show. So that's where I started acting. And it's funny because I got very shy. I was very shy unless you knew me. And then if you knew me, because I'm naturally much more introverted, but if once you know me, then I kind of come alive, and I get very much into a leadership. Like that's my natural state. Is in a leadership role. And so that's one of the reasons actually why I left acting, was because by the time I graduated high school at 17, and then I dropped out of college 2 weeks before I was supposed to start, because I actually found this acting school, Playhouse West in North Hollywood, and was accepted into that school. And I just knew that I just had a gut feeling that was where I needed to be instead of at college. And so I leaned into my gut feeling. My parents supported it because they knew I was always entrepreneurial, and they knew that whatever I did, I would make it work. And so my parents and I worked out a deal that the funds that they had saved for me to go to college, I would put toward building my entertainment business in whatever capacity that looked like, whether that was acting classes or joining networking groups and building that business side of it. And for me, when I got into acting, I out of high school, I loved it. And I loved going to the classes, and I loved learning, and I loved reading the plays, and I loved the study and the art of it. And I loved showing up and doing the scenes. But then I would go out on these auditions, and they were so boring. Like these roles were not transformational whatsoever. There was no deep work involved. It was hot girl number whatever. And I was like, this isn't like it. The dichotomy was too large. And eventually that chasm just became so large that I was like, I don't want to do acting anymore, because I was just tired of getting cast as like the hot girl number 3, or, any part with a number in it. And then on top of it, being asked like, oh, well, you can only get cast in this if you do topless. And I was like, no, I'm not doing topless. So I just knew. Like I knew that there was much more that I wanted for my life. And I said, it's not in this path. So maybe I'll just do the Oprah thing. Like eventually build an empire of my own, and go. Then, produce The Color Purple, and then cast myself in a role that's appropriate. Like that way I'll do. I'll work it that way. But I like the path, the structured acting path, which is kind of like every career has its certain like, oh, you build up doing these small roles, and then once you collect enough small roles, and I was like, it just didn't feel aligned for me in that capacity. And so I chose to leave it, because I also got an opportunity through my networking, through my business building skills, because I treated show business, it's got business in the title, so I treated it like a business. And through my network, I had the opportunity to co-write a feature film. Oh. And when that opportunity was presented to me, it was actually presented because I was brought on to produce it, because my director wanted to produce it in the town that I grew up in. And I'd never produced a film, but I was like, cool, that could be fun. And then I asked him if he had a script, and he said, hold on, I have a sneeze. It's about to come. Nope.
God bless you.
See, I've already been blessed. It didn't need to show up. So I then asked him if he had a script, and he said no. And I said, I actually think that this he wanted to do it sort of improvisationally. I said, actually, I think that this would be really suited in a screenplay, and giving some guidance and some outline to it. He said, okay, go ahead and like, why don't you write 10 pages and I'll pass it off to the executive producer. And so I wrote the first 10 pages. I sent it to the executive producer, and I got the comment back, how do you know so much about men? And I said, well, it's not that hard, because the scene was 3 guys walk into a strip club, and like, not that hard to figure out what they're thinking.
Exactly.
And so they said, okay, go ahead and write it. And within 2 weeks, I had the first draft.
So you worked with Larry David, right? Because we have a question popping up from the Dirty
yeah,
Floor here.
so briefly, like that was like a hot second as like a feature role on Curb Your Enthusiasm. That like I was not, that was not. I sat behind him in a scene. there was very little engagement between me and Larry.
Hey, Kim, I wanted to ask you, do you have, did you prepare some pictures or probably some little clips that you would like to show the audience?
I mean, I have a video of some of my clients of just the benefits of working with me, but not really too much from my past. I mean, if you go to crownyourself.com, you can definitely see some of the pictures from my acting, and I can show you those for sure.
Sure.
So let me share my screen real quick.
Okay, as you're getting ready, just going to brief the audience. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. And once again, for those of you who have just tuned in right now, we're with our wonderful guest all the way from the Gold Coast near Brisbane, Australia, Miss Kimberly Spencer, who is a high-power performance coach. Quite an honor for us to have you on our show, Kim.
Awesome. Well, it is a pleasure being on your show. So thank you. So this is me back in my acting and pageant girl days. So this was me on the set with Danny Trejo. Danny was in the film Bro. This is a film that I co-wrote, starring the Metal Militia guys. It was a story, and like I knew nothing about freestyle motocross until this movie. It wasn't even supposed to be about freestyle motocross. It was supposed to be about this bro culture. And at the time I was dating a bro guy, and and I also, the story was really about a young kid who gets caught up in the cool crowd. And so that part was, that part was part of what I understood. So that's a very human story of a young kid growing up to be a part of the cool crowd. And that story in and of itself, it just evolved. And it was like on the 4th or 5th draft that my director and co-writer, he was like, how much do you know about motocross? And I was like, absolutely nothing. I remember where I was standing in my gym. It was like 8 o'clock at night. He's like, so I have a question for you. Like, the Metal Militia had agreed to do the branding and the film, like the costuming for the film, and provide all the helmets and all the stuff if we added in freestyle motocross. And I was like, I guess I can research it. And so that's what a Google search tab is for. So I just researched freestyle motocross, and I learned about the culture. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and so I ended up writing the film.
Okay, Kimberly, I wanted to ask you the type of work you do, the high performance coach work. And also when Spike was on our show, your husband, we asked him something about, things to do with the law of attraction, because a lot of our guests, fortunately, and that is a passion that I embrace myself, they use that. So do you use the law of attraction in parallel to the work you do?
Oh, I mean, it's not if I use the law of attraction. The law of attraction is always at work. It's like you either work with it or you try to beat yourself against it. Like you're attracting what you are. And so the law of attraction, it's like any other, it's like the law of gravity. Like you don't try to make the law of gravity work. It just works. So I use the law of attraction is constantly at effect in action. It means that am I aligning myself with what I want to attract into my life? And I brought up the trailer of Bro, if that's something that you would want to see.
Definitely, by all means.
Well,
Yes.
let me share that
Sure.
right now, because again.
Here you go.
There you go. Movie moment.
Enjoy. Get the popcorn, guys.
Last night I left the club with a warm She's around, but I like the way she goes. Hey, Jesse, this is Johnny.
Manolos original member Bo Manley, Colin Scummy Morrison, and Danny Trejo.
Yeah, I'm good. Let's go.
What do you think about all this, Johnny? It's a day job, huh?
They live the ultimate life. But if you could have it all,
What was that?
That's what it was.
why would you stop
Where's Jesse at, man?
when you've had enough?
Ready for this? Welcome to the big leagues.
Just because you got a gun don't make you an armed robber gangster.
How much you live? Talent just pours off of you, man.
Yeah.
Bro. Look for it on DVD.
That's totally amazing. I love that. That's
So-
cool.
When people see me with all the crown yourself, princessy stuff, they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yes. Even my mom, she was like, when she saw the movie, she was like, how do you know about all that stuff? And I was like, it's just research, a lot of research, Mom.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, but it was like, I'm so grateful for that movie because it brought me it was because of that film that I was able to see, one, that screenwriting was not 100% in alignment, again, just like acting was. Like I loved writing the film. I had, going to the premiere and seeing it on the big screen and seeing my name on the big screen. Like it was very exciting, but at the same time, I felt only 90% fulfilled. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. But what did fulfill me was 2 weeks later, after I had, when you write a film, you get extra tickets. And so I was like passing them out like candy to any friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends and friends, to anyone who would want to come. And I got a call from a friend of mine that she had brought her friend and her friend had brought her son. And she said, I just want to let you know that film changed that kid's life. And I was like, what? And I was like, that film changed the kid's life. And she was like, yeah, he was going down because it's the story of a cool kid, a kid who's trying to fit in with the cool crowd. And he starts doing drugs and he starts partying and he starts going down a path that leads to some destruction, learns some lessons, and kumbaya at the end. But at the end, ideally, but there is some surprises, so you may have to see it. But this kid was on that same path. He had started hanging out with a crowd that was doing drugs, that was partying all the time. He had started getting into a little bit of dealing, and he saw the film, he saw the consequences. And then he heard from one of the guys who was in the film, whose life literally mirrored the story. He went to the same jail that we filmed at. He's like, yep, got locked up in there 6 months later after we wrapped production. So his life mirrored it. And this kid just said, like, not worth it. And he changed his life around. And then it also blessed me with the opportunity. When I was in pageants, I was doing some work at the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. And I was just hearing this young little 8-year-old kid in the kids' cancer ward. And he was like talking about how he rides motocross and has 2 girlfriends. He was like 8 years old. And I said, oh, I wrote a movie about that. And his mom's like, whoa, wait, what? And I said, yeah, it's called Bro. Like I co-wrote it with my friend Nick Parada. And she was like, whoa, that's my favorite film. And I was like, no way. And had I not been a part of that movie, like I was able to connect that kid with motocross guys and like people that I would have never had connections with in my life. So that's 100% law of attraction. That's God at work in my book, because that's like that is the universe aligning and saying that this thing that seems so out of nowhere is so in alignment to how you can serve on a greater level. And if it wasn't for that film, I never would have met Spikey, because it was when that film got picked up by Lionsgate. I posted in a networking group that, yay, like this film, my first feature film, like, oh my gosh. And somebody who had worked and done the sound, the post-editing sound, was like, he was in the networking group and he's like, oh, do you want to, like, there's a networking meetup to like a week from when I posted. And he said, do you want to go? And he said, not like as a date. He said, just like to go and celebrate. And I was like, cool. And it's like, it was totally platonic. And it was so cool. And it turned out that guy was a friend of Spike's. And so I was hanging out with him, chatting with a few other people. And then Spike came up to chat with me. And I just happened to hang out with his friends. So that was fun.
Okay. So tell us, when we had our interview a week ago, you were telling me, actually, I'm going to rephrase this. According to what you told me, how does one claim his or her power in his or her voice?
It starts with questioning, like questioning your conditioning. Because sometimes we don't know what our authentic voice is until we've allowed ourselves to be curious, because so often, especially growing up, people will tell you what you should be or what you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to sound like or what you're supposed to do or who you're supposed to be. And so I call this plagiarized program. So sometimes programming. So sometimes my latte is just like upsetting my stomach at this moment. So sometimes we accept that programming as our own, and we adopt it. And that's what I call, that's, as a writer, that's called plagiarism. So you're accepting somebody else's belief, someone else's perception of the way the world should be as your own, where that may not necessarily be true. I mean, had I gone down the traditional path that my family was, like, my parents were supportive because they were always entrepreneurs, but my extended family was definitely questioning the fact that I didn't follow that traditional model of you go to high school. And I mean, I went to a very, very nice high school, the same high school as Meghan Markle. And like that, so it was like, the next step is college. And then the next step is you get a great job. And something about that path just didn't work for me. And it's like, and I questioned that perception. And I think the blessing that COVID has provided us is we're seeing a lot of these industries and traditional paths that we've been told we should take not really working out so well. And it's causing us to think more creatively. It's causing us to really question, like, what is it that we actually want? Like, what is it that you want? Before anybody said what you should or shouldn't want, what is it that you really want? And then when you question that, what else? What else do you want? What else do you really, really want?
Okay, so do you coach one-on-one, but do you also coach groups?
Yeah, I have my Mindful Monarchs program, and that is basically just really a mindset and physical embodiment of high performance. So what is the mindset of high performance and how do you physically embody it? So that's one of my membership groups that I have that I'm really, really proud of. And I love the group. And it's been fun because I've brought back in teaching Pilates, because the pillar of high performance is that you're living from this core of clarity, of courage, energy, of influence. Well, Pilates enhances your energy, but how you do anything is how you do everything. So when you show up for your physical body in a different way and you train your physical body, you are literally training your brain to think in a different way. You're trained like I loved when I wondered why I was able to get so much done when I was in my early 20s, co-write a movie, be able to launch an e-commerce company, start my own Pilates studio, become a Pilates instructor, and work 10-hour days with no problem. And it was because I was also at the same time simultaneously conditioning my body for 10 more. Like I was known as Killer Kim at the Pilates studio that I started at, and, or the evil munchkin, because I'm quite tiny.
You don't look tiny. You look, you're my height. Look, we're the same.
I know, everyone looks the same height on Zoom. It's great. Like I met one of my clients when I was down in Florida, and I was like, I had no idea how tall you were, and she was like, I had no idea how short you were. So it's fun. Zoom is like the equalizer of heights for everyone. But but when I was teaching in Pilates, like I always had this joke that we'd be doing abs and we'd be doing some crisscross, and I'd be like, okay, ladies, 10 more. Well, if you think about that on a neurological level and what that 10 more is training, it's training in resilience in your body. So when you think that you can't do more and you then do 10 more, it's like, holy crap, I went farther than I expected. And you go a little farther and you go a little farther. Now imagine doing that every single day, 10 hours a day, as I'm playing with my client, hearing myself, because your subconscious mind is always listening, hearing myself say, okay, you got this, now 10 more. Well, that easily took me into nighttime script writing where I'm like, okay, you got this. Let's see if I can get 10 more lines out, 10 more. Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised looking back that I was able to accomplish as much as I did early on because I constantly lived and breathed and didn't realize that as I was teaching, I was training my brain at the same time for this level of resilience.
Kim, well, here we go. We have a question from Chica Tronica.
Tronica.
That's actually Patricia Chica. She's a film producer from Montreal, and she's won a slew of awards for her latest film. So she's got a question for you over here. Can you explain how you physically embody high performance? Can you provide an example?
So if you think of, and I'm going to use my mentor's example, if you think of a power plant, it doesn't have energy, it generates energy. So our bodies are naturally generating energy. We are naturally emitting a vibrational frequency. Now we can train that vibrational frequency to operate at a higher level. Frequencies of courage operate at a higher frequency than frequencies of fear, guilt, shame, anger, or grief. And so those lower tier emotions, they bring down this energy of how you can be operating at a high performing level. And so when you're able to operate on a frequency of courage, sometimes that courage is just having the courage to show up for yourself that day. Sometimes that courage is the courage to say, especially for my high achievers, that you're going to take the day off and trust that your team's going to handle their stuff. Like sometimes that's courage in and of itself. Courage is, it can be anything, but it's showing, it's doing something that's a little different, that's just slightly uncomfortable. And so if you think of it in the form of exercise, doing something that's a little different, that's slightly uncomfortable. So we've all seen those people at the gym who go to the gym, and then like 3 months later, you still see them doing the same exercises, and it doesn't look like they've actually gotten anywhere. It doesn't look like anything's changed. It doesn't look like they've made really much of a difference. And so we've seen that. Now, the difference between that and high performance is full embodiment. It's the process of full engagement. So that's why why I brought back in Pilates into training high performance, because with Pilates, the goal of Pilates is to have your whole body fully engaged as you're moving, which is why people will see Pilates from a distance and they'll be like, that doesn't look hard. But then they get into a class, like I love doing this with like weightlifters who would like totally bulked out and ripped out, and I would destroy them. Like destroy them. They'd be like, this is so hard. And I'm like, yes, because proper form and full engagement of all your muscles in proper form is freaking challenging on a whole other level. And you're hitting a whole different muscle fiber than you are with just like lifting 400 pounds or whatever it is that you can lift, the craziness. I don't do that. That's just not my jam. But that full engagement. And so if you can train yourself to be fully engaged, right now, our society is very much trained to be dabbling. It's trained to be multitasking. And we have to uncondition ourselves out of that dabbling to be able to fully engage into a project. So if you look at the people who you look at them and you're like, how do they get so much done? It's because they are focusing full engagement on one or two projects. They are not engaging in like, let me do a little here, let me do a little here, let me do a little here, let me do a little here. Like they are fully putting their full energy to drive one car out of the garage to get to a destination, or then there's another car that they can take out of the garage. Like a friend of mine, she's so good at this, far better than I am. I think it helps that she's had 4 kids and been able to like master this, because with 4 kids, you kind of have to. But she just, when she makes a decision that she's going to accomplish something, she drives that one car, she drives it hard, she goes all in, she drives it fast, and she gets it done within 3 months, and she works in these sprints. So I think there's a lot of fear that happens as to why we don't fully engage with anything, and we are left kind of half engaged in these lots of things. It's because it scatters our energy. It scatters our energy. And B, there's a fear that that we won't ever get to it. That's something that because I'm not doing it now, that it's never going to happen. No. It just may not be right for right now. Like for me, I've been offered scripts and to like write screenplays again. And I had this happen 2 years ago. And again, I had to check in with myself, because in the past, I totally would have gone for it. I totally would have done it. And now I'm like, no, not aligned. Not what I'm focusing on in the next 3 months. Not what I'm focusing on. When I'm focused on that one thing, driving that one car to get to my one destination, then from there, I can take that pit stop and then reassess what's the next car that I need to pick up to drive me to the next one.
Okay. Are you considering when everything is aligned, going into directing, filming behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm sure I will. I see that in probably the next 10 years.
Okay. There's no hurry, right?
No. I see it in some capacity, but I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet. So when that picture presents itself, I will be very happy, and it's aligned, and it's exactly what a project that really excites my soul. Then that will be something I will absolutely jump on. But right now it's not.
You're in a land that's absolutely beautiful, but here's the question. Are you a little homesick? Do you miss LA?
No.
No,
not at all.
No. Oh my God. I was expecting to hear oh yeah, I missed. No,
not at all.
Oh, wow.
No, not even a little bit.
Okay.
Like I go through periods where I'll miss my mom, or I'll miss my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll miss some of my friends, but perks of Zoom, I can see them. The physical space of LA, no. I haven't felt like LA has been my home for years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Are you originally from LA? No?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, originally from LA, born and raised in Burbank. And then Spike and I lived outside of downtown for 7 years. And then we moved back to Burbank last year, and then had the freedom to be able to move here. And this Australia feels so much better than LA does.
Okay. So could it be well assumed that you're probably not considering going back to LA, because you said you're going to stay there for 2 years?
Yeah.
Is there maybe like a stop in Montreal you might want to do, like come and live here?
I will always take a stop to Montreal. Montreal is gorgeous, and you know how to do duck for sure. But, yeah, love Montreal. Would love to come back to Montreal and be able to practice parlaying my français, because it is gotten quite shoddy, and it's not really a language that's spoken a lot in Australia.
Not really,
we're
huh?
Declan on Spanish, but that also is not a language that's spoken a lot in Australia. So we're, but I've like, I see Spike and I living a digital nomad life for a while.
You know what? And you two are so blessed because you're lucky to be able to do this.
Mhm.
You know, like I don't know what I would give to be in Australia right now. As a matter of fact, just the fact that the COVID cases are not as bad as they are here in Montreal, and plus the lifestyle. You know, it's nice to see a kangaroo or a wallaby. What do you call them? A wallaby?
Yeah.
Wallaby? It's nice to see them on picture, but actually seeing one of those things live, it must be like. It's like, hey, it's like I'm in Australia and I'm face to face with a kangaroo over here. How fun is that?
It's quite fun. I mean, we're in the city next to the beach, so it's kind of like the Gold Coast for where we are. It's very much it's kind of like almost like a sci-fi. Like you see this like giant it's kind of almost like Miami. Like you see these giant buildings rising out of the sea, and I just realized I need to plug in my computer. So we're not seeing a lot of wallabies and kangaroos, but what we do hear a lot of is beautiful birds, like the birds that just it sounds like a tropical paradise in the morning. Like this morning, I just was I was having a very queenly morning, and I was lounging. Normally I'll wake up and I'm pretty darn disciplined with getting up and going to the gym. But this morning I was having none of it. And I was just like, I'm just going to be queen for this morning, and I'm going to lay out. And I just like sprawled out on the bed and just enjoyed listening to these beautiful birds, just making all of these sounds that you don't hear anywhere else. And so that was quite magical. And then I do know that we will be doing a bit more traveling into inland to see some things and doing a bit more adventure, because I think Spike and I we need that. Like while we love being in our place and we really think that this is like our home for the next couple of years, definitely doing a little bit of exploration outside of this place would be awesome.
Okay, Kim, with the 2 minutes we got left, okay, final question for you. What does the future hold in store for Kim?
Great things. Yeah, great things. So that's the future. I mean, I am not one to speak my dreams until they've taken root. So, and what I mean by that is there is a need for me to, and this is just my own success strategy. I don't, and this is, everyone has their own unique subconscious success strategy. Some people are external, projectors, and they'll put out like what they want and they'll say what they want. For me, I'm an internal projector, and I basically, until that decision has been fully embodied and decided, then I share about it. So like staying here for 2 years, that's fully embedded and decided. And as soon as I said that, of course, like people came out like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And what about your kid? And I'm like, he'll be fine. He's actually thriving here. So I don't like to announce decisions of things that I'm working on until they've actually fully taken root and there is a certainty that they are happening. But I can tell you that great things are happening, and staying in Australia for 2 years is wonderful, and among many, many other beautiful developments that are to be birthed.
Well, Kim, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Listen, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to all of our audience that tuned in tonight. It was absolutely fantastic. It was delightful. Thank you very much. Kim, I will ask you, can you please stay? I'm going to sign off with the show, and I'm going to come and get you in backstage.
Cool.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay. So Kim, it won't be long. I'll be getting you. So guys, thanks again for tuning in to Kimberly Spencer. A job well done tonight.
Thank you so much. And please go to crownyourself.com. And if you are on YouTube, subscribe to the Crown Yourself channel.
Okay, I'll be back to you in a sec. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's going to wrap up our show. Our first simulcast on Facebook and on YouTube. It was a nice experience. I guess we get to reach more of an audience that way, because not everybody has a Gmail account. It's a little bit difficult to go comment on YouTube if you don't have a Gmail account. Folks, stay tuned. Either tomorrow or by Wednesday latest, we're going to have the trailer to Daily Struggles episode 6, and it's going to be a barn burner, folks. Stay tuned. It's going to be delightful. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. And as I sign off, I invite you guys to be here next week, same time, same reason. God bless. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.